Hey everyone, GamerJlee here, and welcome back to another video. And today I wanted to do another video, but not make it Halo related. As you guys know, I am trying my hardest to get away from the Halo themed content, and I'm trying to do new interesting things that I want to cover. And this is something that kind of fell into my lap about a month ago. PC Building Simulator. I was going through my recommendations on Steam, and I saw this game and I said, oh great, another, generic, random, crappy simulator game that is just going to be a waste of money and it's going to be stuck in early access forever. Well, I have to say this. 1, this game is still in early access. 2, they are updating the game nearly almost twice a week, maybe once a week to twice a week. And 3, I personally believe that this game would be useful in schools. Now, I come from a school that they pushed electives. Now, if you are not in high school yet, or are still going through middle school, or you're just getting into high school, your elective classes are classes that are not mandatory. They're more like a secondary option, something like doing weight training or welding or graphic design. I personally think that there should be more PC classes to get people educated on how PCs work. And a lot of schools have taken away electives. Fort Vancouver High School, which I went to, has eliminated a lot of their elective classes. I don't even know if they have video production anymore, which was honestly what got me into YouTube. But I have to say this. I think that this would be a great thing to have for people that want to learn about PC building without taking the risk of buying the parts and busting them. And I'm going to explain why. So first off, you have a few different options. You have your career mode, which I've put a lot of time into this game. I've been playing this game for about 8 to 10 hours. I don't know my exact time. I'll have to check on Steam whenever we go and check out their actual website, because there is something I want to show you guys. But as you guys can see, I do have the career mode. We will go into that in a little bit. You also have a free build mode that is actually pretty fun, because you can build whatever kind of PC you want. It really gets your creative juices flowing. But how to build a PC, and this is what I mean. I think this is a very low spec game. It doesn't really need too much. You don't need anything too crazy. And what I think would be awesome is if people were able to play this in school and learn how a PC works. So as you can see, there's really no graphical difference between, ultra high graphics and very low. Like, there's nothing. I could run this on very low, but I have a 1080 Ti. I can run it on whenever I want. There we go. So let's go ahead and check out how to build a PC. Now, what's cool about this feature is that it actually teaches you about each component of the PC as you build it. So for example here, how to build a PC mode. In this tutorial, you'll learn about the main components of a PC and how they go together. Continue. Takes us over the case. Now this, just before we get started here, I want to explain something about this case, and I don't think I can rotate it. This is very similar to the case I have. I have the Master Case 5. No, is it the 4 or the 5? I've got the Master Case 4 or 5 from Cooler Master. I believe this is one of their newer models, and honestly, I want to upgrade to something like this. But let's continue. Open the case. First, we need to remove the side panels of the case so we can install the components inside. That is very true. So for example, it does show you can remove it, and this is exactly almost like, this is a newer version of the case that I have, and honestly, it's a beautiful case. It really is. I'm waiting for the Master Case 6 to come out, the 600, the P600. That's the one I'm looking forward to. But we got to remove both side panels. I'm not a big fan of the tempered glass on the back panel personally, but that's just me. Install the PSU. Great. Next up, we'll install the power supply, also known as the PSU. This will provide power to all the components in your PC. It lives behind a PSU mount, which needs to be removed before the PSU can be installed. Exactly. So basically, you go back here, go ahead, remove the 4 screws that hold the mount in place, just like so. removes it. You go to your inventory, and as you can see, there's a lot of parts here. So you got your graphics card, your motherboard. Oh, that's the cooler. There's your motherboard. You got an extra fan here, and there's the PSU. This is what we need, and we're gonna click it. Now it explains everything that it goes on, and this would be great for a teacher who needs to teach his class about different components. He could basically say, okay, everyone bring up this piece in the tutorial and let me explain each component. So let's see what we got here. You got the main powers. The PSU takes power from the wall socket. The PSUs are rated for 200 watts up to 1600 watts. You need to make sure that you have enough wattage for your system. So that just shows you there's the wall plug-in. You've got the fan. The PSU generates a lot of heat. This fan keeps it expels hot air. And then you have your module ports. Now there's a difference between modular and non-modular. Modular is where you can pick and choose what cords go into it and what don't. Basically you could say, okay, I want to have a cord for basically my CPU, my motherboard, my hard drives, and my graphics card. Where a non-modular power supply basically doesn't allow you to do that. Basically you have to have all the cords coming out of the thing. And there's also power supplies that are semi-modular, where it gives you some customization but also has some cords that are mandatory stuck on the power supply. So yeah, now let's install it. All you do is go ahead, put it in there, go like this, mount this up, just stick it in all four. There we go. And then you got to put in the main screws to keep it secure. Basically the mount just is there so that if like something went wrong, like let's say you didn't want to undo all the cables but you need to get this out to check on it or just dust it out, you could undo these, pull out the mount, and just clean it and slide it back in and keep it screwed while not removing your cables. But now we have to get the motherboard out of the inventory. I shouldn't have done that because I skipped the thing about the motherboard, but this is like the skeleton of your PC. This is like basically your body, your bone structure. And this, as you can see, there's so much explanation here, and that's what I love about this, is that it explains so much about your actual PC. You got the IO ports. This is where you put in your USB and your other components like your headphones and everything, your speakers. A PCI slot. This is for your graphics card. The CMOS battery. I didn't even know whenever I built a PC, I didn't know what CMOS battery was originally. It took me a couple years, but just the fact that they explained that is really awesome. They explain about standoffs. They explain about everything you need to know about this component, and that really makes me happy. I really think that this will be a great tool, personally, for PC building. I think this would be a great tool for someone who's afraid of PC building and wants to learn a little bit more about it without having to basically sit through a guide and maybe you screw up. I've done that before. I've made mistakes on a PC build. It is really simple, but I've made mistakes, and if I had this chance to like go step by step through a game and basically have an interactive experience, I think it would be a lot more fun and a lot more educational than just sitting there listening to Lions Tech Tips bitch in my ear for an hour. Alright, so let's go ahead, and whenever you do this, the first thing you have to do whenever you're doing a PC build, depending on what your motherboard is and you want to refer to your motherboard manual, is install the standoffs. So basically this makes sure that your board doesn't get shorted by making contact with the case. So we got to go ahead, install those. There it comes, and then you got to screw them down. So there's these easily marked holes around the motherboard of where it is, and as you can see, some motherboards basically can go all the way out to here. I believe this is all the way out for the motherboards, and then these, I don't think these would be out for motherboards unless it was like a server board, but these are probably more likely for water cooling, which I do hear that they are in the process of getting water cooling into the game, which I think would be excellent. So let's go ahead, screw in the rest of these screws, get our motherboard in. Very important that we get this done. You want to make sure, trust me, let me tell you a little bit of story about this real quick before we get started. But I actually screwed up on my first build where I didn't get my motherboard standoff screws screwed in all the way. They were loose. And whenever we tilted the case up, almost probably 6 out of the 9 that we needed for my motherboard fell out. So I got lucky there. Well, let's go ahead. Now, the next thing we have to do is attach the 2 powers to each of the sockets on the motherboard. Now, this is the power for your main motherboard. This basically powers on all the components on the motherboard, basically making sure that they get equal power. This is just the main power for the motherboard. This one is for your CPU. Carries power from the PSU to the CPU, just like this one carries from the PSU to the motherboard. So boom, we got to do that, and then we got to find the 24 pin right down here of the motherboard connector, and boom, there you go. You can see how he routed the cable and everything. Now we got to do the PSU, and there's the CPU, I mean, the CPU. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to get it to go through this socket on this particular case. From experience, it really is. I had to actually almost like cut away at this to get the socket to go through. It was really hard. And then this one here is, I believe, if it'll highlight it, there we go, front panel connectors. Now this is something that I think that they're gonna, you know, I think that they should put a little more detail into and how easy it is. But basically they're talking about the front panel of your case. So like, for example, if you look at the front panel of the case, we've got your USB ports, your restart switch, your power switch, your headphones, and basically these usually come in little teeny tiny, there's multiple ones. You know, you have USB 3.0, you could have different audio, so on and so forth. But they made it simple. I think we should also maybe have the little connectors, just for the fact that I think it would, you know, add a little bit more detail. But let's go ahead, connect the cord there. Alright, so the next thing we have to do is install the CPU. The central processing unit, also known as the CPU, is the PC's brain. It performs calculations based on information from some components and passes the results to others. Alrighty, so this is basically the brain, like it mentioned, of your PC. And to me, it is one of the most fragile, well, it would be nice if it wasn't buried under a fan, but it's one of the most fragile components of your PC. Now, if we click on this, this is what a CPU typically looks like, especially an Intel CPU. But you have a few different things here that's explained. The pins. If I flip this over, you can see the pins here. I'm actually gonna make it so I can read the cue card. The CPU has pins that plug into the socket of the motherboard. Each CPU model has its own pin layout and orientation of the socket. That is true. Now, usually, whenever you're installing a CPU, one of these corners has one of these gold arrows. Now, as you can see, they just did all of them gold arrows. Me personally, I would like to be able to explain that, you know, and this is what a teacher could do, is explain how, you know, you got to make sure that it's lined up with the gold arrow on the CPU to the gold arrow on the motherboard. But you also have the processor. The processor, or die, is the chip that does all of the calculations in the computer. It is a very delicate and tightly packed, so it gets hot quickly. That is very true. And then you have the heat plate. The CPU has a heat plate that is attached directly to the processor. This is designed to quickly get the CPU's heat away from the CPU cooler, or away to the CPU cooler. That is very true. Basically, we'll get into that in 1 second, but we got to install this CPU. So what you got to do whenever you're installing, this is for Intel. Now, this is an Intel socket. From what I've experienced, it's the 1151 series, which is Skylake. And what you do is you lift up this arm, there goes the little plate, you go, you install it, you bring this down, and then you bring the arm down, and it puts pressure on the plate to come down and lock into place. Now, apply the thermal paste. Now, this is something that's very important. The CPU gets very hot, and it needs to be cooled by a cooler. First, we need to apply thermal paste to the CPU to improve the conductivity between it and the cooler. So what we do is you attach your little bit of thermal paste. You don't want to do it too big, you don't want to do it too small, just about the size of a pea or a grain of rice. I believe a grain of rice theory is for AMD processors. Install the CPU cooler. Now we can install the CPU cooler. There are two main cooling types, air or water. Now, so far, there's only air available in this game. They're working on getting water coolers into the game, which I think would be a lot of fun. And honestly, when they get in custom water loops, which they're working on, maybe I'll consider doing a custom water loop build. I'm a little bit of a coward whenever it comes to that because, you know, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of maintenance. But me as an enthusiast, I think it would be a lot of fun personally. But let's go ahead and install our cooler. So as you can see here, a lot more explanation. It talks about the power connector for the cooler. You have the heat sink. There's the cooler plate. You've got the fan, everything you need to know. This is a basic stock cooler that's similar to the Intel cooler that is that comes with most CPUs. I believe that they usually come with the K series. They haven't been shipping them out as often with their CPUs nowadays, but these are pretty basic and they don't cost that much, in all honesty. That's why I usually don't go with these. I usually go with something with a little bit more protection because these do a decent job, but you can't do anything majorly insane with them. You could do a little bit of, you know, hardcore gaming and a little bit of good, you know, heavy processing like with video rendering, but you can't really overclock it because this thing can't keep up. Like hell, I would even be afraid to render a video with one of these because I have no experience with the stock coolers really. I've only mainly used water coolers or maybe bigger air coolers. So let's go ahead, and all you do with this is whenever you're doing this, you don't spread out the thermal paste. You leave it as that P, and then you let this do it for you. Then you go ahead, you take the power connector, and it all depends on your motherboard. As I said, refer to your motherboard manual, and you can figure out where this goes. So now we have to install the graphics card. The next important component is the graphics processing unit, or GPU. The GPUs are often mini computers in themselves with their own processors and memory to calculate the complex visuals of today's games. That is very much true. So let's go ahead, and we gotta get our graphics card. And as you can see here, there is a lot to it. Basically, you can do SLI, which is dual GPUs, so you can take two graphics cards, connect them in SLI, and basically one would run the PhysX portion to basically leave the load off the main card. Now, not a lot of people do SLI anymore because Nvidia has kind of gone away from SLI. Now, on AMD's side, you still have Crossfire though, and then you have the graphic processor, you have the backplate. That's actually not the backplate, that's just the IO. The backplate is actually a piece that goes across here that protects it, so I would probably rename this to rear IO. You have the PCI connector, everything you need to know. And then you got the fan and heatsink, which if it wasn't covered up by all this text, you could see easily. But let's go ahead. And what we got to do is we got to line up with the socket, and you want it to be the 16X socket on your motherboard. Remove that. Go ahead and install. Put that screw back in, and usually what you want to do is put a little pressure. We'll get to that in 1 second, but put a little pressure and lift the card up so it's straight, so it's not sagging, and putting pressure on this connector. You want to actually lift it up so that way whenever it is, it's straight and not like having to lean on the connector. But that's usually only for heavier cards. Something like this little guy would be perfectly fine and shouldn't be an issue installing. But let's go ahead and install something that you're actually going to see me do a video on in a couple of days. RAM. This is memory. This is basically, I think, based off the HyperX RAM. That seems to be the look of it. But RAM is a very interesting piece. So as you can see here, the memory chips. The chips on the stick of RAM are very fast types of memory designed to hold programs so the computer can access them as quickly as possible. Connector. This is basically the connector that goes into your motherboard. Just like the PCI's connector, it's a little bit different. And then you have the locks. Motherboard RAM slots have locking switches that grip the RAM here and hold it in place, which you gotta, like, basically, you can't really see it, but right here on the very end of the stick. So let's go ahead and install it. And normally, it depends on your motherboard manual, But what you want to do, if you have 2 sticks, you want to almost go boom and then the next one over. This one's just saying put it in either one of these. So we're just going to go ahead and, you know, we're going to go ahead, put it right in there. And I guess we have 2 sticks RAM. Again, it depends on your motherboard manual. Basically, in most motherboard manuals, we wouldn't have put this here. We would have put it next to it. So let's go back to our inventory. And we only have a few more components to go. So first off, we have the hard drive. Now, there are 2 different types of hard drive. There are HDDs and SSDs. A basic hard drive, this is like a simple hard drive, like what you would find in, you know, your PS4 or Xbox One, unless you've modded them. I've modded my PS4 to have an SSD in it, and honestly, the performance on a console isn't that great, but in a PC, it can be a lifesaver. So let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Spinning disk. A hard drive has a disk inside that spins a bit like a DVD. The faster the disk spins, the faster the data can be accessed. Some server drivers can spin up to over 15,000 RPMs. Well, you know what? That's over 9,000, so...
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick that right there. That works for me. Okay. Next up, you have the connectors. Now, there's 2 different connectors that you have to do. SATA and power. These are the connectors to use to connect the HDD, or just call it a hard drive, to the motherboard. SATA and power supply. So one connects directly to the motherboard, and the other one goes from the power supply to it to give it power. So we're going to go ahead and install it. And one thing I want to mention real quick before I do that is that most graphics cards, you have to have power for it. Now, this is a simple PCI powered card on this graphics card, and it does not need power. But be prepared, if you had a higher end card like a 1060, a 1070, a 1080, a 1080 Ti, a Titan, you would need direct power to the card. But let's go ahead, open this up, place our hard drive in there, and it's very simple. Close it, and then we go around to the back of the case, and we're going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this. And we're going to first connect our SATA power, and, you know, I'm just going to connect it to the simplest one. And then we got to go to, I think they actually messed that up because they said that was power. No, this is SATA. And then we're going to just go and put it on there. Now, additional cooling. All the components of the PC give out heat. That is very much true. Case fans will help keep the temperatures down by moving the hot air out of the case. And this is something that I recommend you go to YouTube channels about. One of the best is Jay's 2 Cents. He has a lot of tips whenever it comes to cooling and push pull and pull and whatever you want to learn. So I recommend you check him out. I'll actually have him as a card up in the top right corner right about now. Well, let's go ahead, go back and grab our final component. You have the fins of the fan. It works just like a standard fan, like you would see. It blows a certain way and blows cool air out or hot air out, depending on how you have it oriented. So you have the little motor. Let's go ahead. We're going to put this on the back of our PC, screw it into our case. Yep. And then they usually have a power cord that you have to connect to the motherboard. Close the case. Now we just need to replace all the covers and protect all those delicate components. So we flip this around. We install our case, our back panel. We install our front panel. Now we need to plug in all the cables and power on the PC. Alright, so what we gotta do now is just plug in our power, plug in our HDMI, which I use DisplayPort because you can get higher refresh rates, which is higher FPS through a monitor if you have a higher FPS monitor like I do. You've got your USB for your keyboard and the USB for your mouse. And then we go up front, and you can do this 2 different ways. In the game, you can either hit P on your keyboard or just click it, and voila, guess what? We're back to the main menu, and that taught you how to build a PC. Now, this, to me, personally, I think that this game could get really far. I think that this game has a lot of potential, and especially if the developers, and I've talked to these guys, they're really good dudes, especially if they allowed mods, if they allowed teachers to go onto Steam and mod the game and set up maybe lessons, to, you know, experiment with different scenarios. Let's say that there's like if they went into more detail whenever a component fails in the career mode, which we're about to talk about, I think this would be a great tool. But let's go into the career mode. I'm just going to start a new career, and I'm just going to walk through this a little bit with you guys while we do this. So welcome to PC Building Simulator. To begin, go to your PC by the doorway and open the email program. On the desktop, you've got mail. Okay, so we go over and there's our computer. You know, this is a very empty workshop. As you can see, you can upgrade stuff as you level up in the game. As you can see right now, my economy is kind of shit because I'm negative 15 in the hole. I'm level 1, and they've improved this game a lot since it was originally released. This used to not be here. This calendar didn't used to be here. You had to go to the door to find out what the hell was going on. But let's go ahead and see what's going on with our Uncle Tim. Timbo, hey, thanks for taking over the PC shop for me. Sorry it's not in a better state. A few things. The company isn't doing very well and there's no money in the bank account. Well, fuck you, Uncle Tim, you're a dick. The rent and energy bills come out monthly, so make sure you have enough money for them. Well, crap. I don't think we're gonna have a lot of money right now. Thanks a lot, dude. I had a job to go I had a job on the go which should help you with the rent. See the email below. Remember to use thermal paste when putting in a CPU. I almost forgot and the PCs will overheat. Yes, thermal paste is your friend. And there's a lot of videos where people were dumb and forgot to put thermal paste on their CPUs. So please, for the love of God, put it on. So, thanks, Uncle Tim. Thank you. Thank you, Uncle Tommy. Alright. Hi, Tim. I hope you can help me. My computer has been running slower than usual, and I think I might have clicked on something I shouldn't have. Do I have a virus? Thanks, Gary. Okay, Gary Oak. I know you've been looking at too much Pokemon porn, but let's go ahead and see what's wrong with your PC. There we go. Put it up on the counter. Alright, so we gotta see if it can boot and remove the viruses. So this is very simple. So all you do is it tells you to plug it in. We already know how to plug it in. Go to the cable management. Boom. 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 And boom. There we go. Insert the USB drive. So what we have to do is go to install, and you have different categories here. You have tools, so like thermal paste, your USB drive where you can get your programs, and compressed air, which is to clean or blow out of the dust out of your case. You have categories for graphics cards, CPUs, motherboards, memory, storage, power supplies, cooling, and PC parts. So we're going to go to tools, grab the USB drive, just goes right in there. Yes, we can power it on. We can either go ahead and hit the button, or I can just go hit P on my keyboard, and then it starts booting up over here on the monitor. We go over the monitor. Yes, we have to install the antivirus. I don't want to spoil this for you guys, because if you guys actually want to play this game, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend you give it a chance if you have a PC that can run it. This is a very low maintenance game in my opinion, so literally I think anyone could run this. But it's a fun game and I think it's very educational. But let's go ahead, install the PC virus scanner. There we go. Installing like real life installing. It takes forever. Alright, now we gotta restart our computer. Yep. Booting up Omega OS. There it goes. Then we go ahead, start scan. Damn, he's got 335 infected files. Well, let's clean that up. There we go. This is just my OCD, because I do this with my real computer. Whenever I'm scanning for infected files, I go and I run it again, just because I'm OCD. This is a video game. You don't have to worry about that. So we're all done. We can exit that. And then it's all done. We can power it off. And then once it's powered off, pick it up. We go ahead, walk it over, put it by the door, and then we go to the email and we collect our reward. Now you'll get a bunch of different jobs. Like, for example, we just got a thank you letter from Gary Oak. You're welcome. Tell your grandfather I said hi, and tell him he needs to stop, you know, allowing you to look at that Pokemon porn. But we'll get past that. And then you've got more jobs. So this guy wants me to install a hard drive, or, you know, a 500 gig hard drive or better. This guy's got a broken graphics card. This guy just needs help cleaning out the viruses before his mom freaks on him. probably, yeah, it looks a bit dirty, you know, clean out the dust, but, you know, he might have some weird porn on there, you know, that's usually how it works with these guys. But that's the basics of the main career mode. I didn't want to make this video too long, so let's go ahead. I'm going to end off right here, and we're going to jump on over to their webpage and take a look at some of the goals they want to have with this game. Alrighty, so now we are over on their website for PC Building Simulator, and it is a very simple site. It's not too complex. Oh, you know, keep informed. They want me to sign up for their newsletter. Well, guess what? I'm already signed up for it, so I don't have to worry about it. But it is a game that I actually do really appreciate, and I really want to keep up with. And that's why I really do check this game almost every day to see if there's new updates. But early access roadmap, these are some of the things they want to have in the game before it is released. And you can actually see what they're working on, what's in progress, and what is already complete. And they tell you when it's been complete. So they've already added, sorry about hitting the microphone, dual GPU support. It's been completed. It was completed about back in and they are not from America, so it was completed back in April. You know, for those that are like, wait, are they from the future? 12/4/18? No, they're from Europe. You have cable rework. Basically, this is a work in progress. The existing cable system has various issues. Yeah, I've seen this. It looks like something out of Halo where your Spartan's arm would get stretched all over the place and you couldn't figure out where anything was going. You've got the water cooling standard, so basically like the Corsair water cooling or Cooler Master water cooling. They want to have that in the game just for variety's sake, you know, compared to just having AIO cooling the entire game. You have more career content, so basically different types of jobs. New jobs based off of new features being added, workshop upgrades and cosmetics, or customizations, my bad. You've got NVMe support, so this is a different type of hard drive, but it's like a little mini, like thumb-sized drive that you put on your motherboard that you don't have a physical big drive in your PC. You have water cooling custom. This is more complicated water cooling that you see some of these cool, awesome modders make in, you know, their PCs, and I would love to do someday, but I'm a little bit timid whenever it comes to that. You have overclocking, so you can do overclocking with the GPUs and figure out and learn about overclocking. When will my graphics card basically stop and say, okay, you've pushed it past the limit of no return, let's go back a little bit. You have case modding, basically support for custom parts, allowing players to further customize their builds. Basically, let's say that you want to do a build in real life and you want to kind of build and see how this would look. You could do that in this game. This would be an option. Raid. I'm not the best whenever it comes to knowing about Raid. I really have no idea. But the ability to set up hard drives in various Raid configurations. Again, I'm not going to speak on this because I don't really know much about Raid. I might do a little bit of learning myself and see if I can do that with my PC. Now, this is just talking about components they want to add in the game. You have, different products from Silverstone, EVGA, NZXT, who I personally do not like NZXT because they screwed me over. But you also have Corsair, so on and so forth. And you can see they've completed one of those as well. And they're already making progress. By the way, they just released this sheet the other day. This page was basically put out on Twitter a couple days ago. So this is basically them working in progress, and then these are awaiting development in the future. CPUs, they want to add the Ryzen 7. You've got motherboards. They are wanting to add some more Gigabyte and NZXT boards. You've got air coolers. You got water coolers, which, oh my god, if we get, where do they have, you've got the EVGA ones, but Corsair Hydro Series. I use Hydro Series, so that is one that I can't wait. And they even have links. If you want to buy these products, you can go and buy these products. So if I want to buy this, right, there's the cooler. This one's actually one that I've got in mind for a build. So if I want to see how this would go and what it would look like in my PC, what case I want to use, then I could see that. This is amazing. In my opinion, I like it. I'm a big fan, and I've put so many hours into it because it is addictive. It's a game that I can literally sit here after recording or streaming or hanging out with my girlfriend or whatever I'm doing and just relax. And it's very relaxing and almost therapeutic in a way, in my opinion. It's just one of those things for me. You've got graphics cards. You got a couple of the Radeon RX Vega 64 and 56. Those are a couple things they want to add, and let's see how actually those cards would look. I actually want to see, because I forget. I'm pretty sure I know what these look like. Yeah, scroll down. Oh, where is it? Where's the card? Come on, show me the card, damn it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's not the prettiest card. I think the other card's prettier. Hold on, let's go look at the other card. Let's see what this one looks like. I think this is the pretty version. No, this is the basic version. I thought they already added this card. Did they? They already had this card? Yeah, it's been completed. Yeah, it's been in the game since the 19th of April. Oh, well, that's good. And then you got power supplies. They want to add more EVGA and Corsair. Corsair that doesn't have a major grasp in there, but I think that that'd be cool because, hey, Corsair's a major power supply, provider. And then general stuff. This is stuff that basically are just general improvements to the game. So further language support, they've completed that. They've had French, German, Russian, Japanese, simplified Chinese and Brazilian, Portuguese are now live, and more language will be reviewed and added later in the game. You have the expanded music player functionality. You can now use your local files in your game or internet streams in the game as a music player. Now you're probably saying, but gamer, you could just have Spotify over on the side. Yes, that is true, but hey, it's an option. It's not a bad thing. More sound effects, that's a work in progress. Basically, it's very simplified at the moment, as you guys could hear in the game. You have more music. That is something that they definitely need to work on, and I'm glad it's in progress, because the soundtrack for this game can be very repetitive, and that's why I would actually prefer having that expanded music player functionality, which they've completed. It is in the game. I would much rather have that, so I could put in a little bit of Post Malone, maybe some Gorillaz, maybe some Weezer and some Eminem, and just chill out and have a good time. Steam trading cards. I would be down for that. I like Steam trading cards. They're fun to collect, and basically, whenever you put time into the game, you can actually get some cards to actually enjoy. So weighing development. Steam achievements. I would like that. I've always been a fan of achievements whenever it came to Xbox One and PS4. I did a video on achievements and how I cared about them back in the day, but sadly they've gone down the drain. But on Steam, they're kind of cool. And then improved animations. Yeah, the animations are a little bit wonky and simplified, but basically they want to add better transitions between things like picking up PCs and using PCs, etc. As you saw whenever I was walking around the office of this game, it was a little bit jaggedy whenever you're walking. I think that's what they're talking about, is just smoothing it out and making it a better game. And remember, this game is in early access. This is an early access game. And what we'll actually do is we'll go to details here. We'll go to the store page so you can just see what this game is all about. But if we scroll down, right, this game is $19.99. Now, basically, that's early access price. I don't know if this is going to go up. I think that if they went up, it would be too much money. I think they should stick at that $19.99 or maybe even go down a little bit. But that's just me. I've got my money's worth out of it. I put a lot of time into this game. If I go back and look, I put 11 hours into this game. It's definitely a game I personally enjoy. But I want to know what you guys think. Are you interested in something like this? Did this video actually help you maybe, and, kind of enlighten you about something that could have been useful for you? Let me know down in the comment section down below, guys. But I personally really do enjoy this game. It's one of the games that I would highly recommend. And yeah, some people are going to think, well, that's really fucking nerdy. That's really fucking stupid. Why would you want to build PCs in a video game? Why not? Why do you want to play Surgeon Simulator with weird physics? Because it's fun. This is fun to me, and it's almost, calming. It's kind of relaxing. I watch some of my favorite YouTubers play this game, but that's just me. But guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. But if you guys also want to maybe like this video if you enjoyed it, or dislike it if you thought it sucked, hey, that's perfectly fine. I am perfectly okay with that. But you also have the links down below to my social media accounts, including Twitter, Twitch, Mixer, Discord, everything you need to know. You can join our Discord community. We are totally open to having new people joining us and growing our community. Our community has been growing nonstop, and there's a lot of amazing people in our Discord. So why don't you come, join in on the fun and, you know, just have a good time. I think that a lot of people would love to have you there if you're new to this channel. And if you want to, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more PC related videos, which I'm considering getting into, I've got a video planned for later this week. I just gotta wait for the components to get here. Please let me know by leaving a like. Tell me down in the description down below if you want more PC related videos, and I will get started on them. I will start getting more into, you know, PC related stuff because I really do love the PC. And this is just one of those things I like. So, alright guys, I think that's enough time wasted. This has been about a 41-minute video, maybe a little bit less, you know, depending on how I edit it. But guys, thank you for watching, and as always, GamerJlee signing out.